Hello, and thanks for being with me today. I am Claire Broderick. I'm the founder of Greener, Cleaner Living, and I'm here to talk to you today about 10 things that we can do, 10 strategies to really create a healthy home detox. I'm going to share a little bit about my background and why this is so important to me and why I feel it's such a value to share with you as well. I hope you find some tidbits in here that are really going to help you see a bigger picture for what healthy means and what your environment means, and how those two things can really come together to create a wonderful, thriving environment for you and your family. So, I'm going to share my presentation with you. I'm going to change my screen here real quick and we'll begin. So here we are. We're going to talk today about a home detox and 10 really easy steps that you can take to eliminate harmful chemicals and toxins from your environment to really create healthier home surroundings. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background. I am a professional licensed engineer, and my specialty is hospital environments. And you can see me on the top left with some of my colleagues at St. Joseph's Regional Medical Center in Paterson, New Jersey. That's a heliport we designed. But I spent my career really focused on making spaces as safe and effective for healing for people within all aspects of the hospital environment. Nothing gave me more satisfaction. It was a wonderful career to have. In the middle, you can see me with my sons while they were in high school and my husband. And at the bottom right, you can see me now in my current position and profession. What was important to me at the time that I made this transition was my kids were in high school, and I was realizing my full-time job was preventing me to really be home with them. But I also was seeing things happening in our own health. My husband suffered from GERD, which is acid reflux, and some intestinal issues. I had shingles. I knew that was stress related, but I was wondering what else that could be coming from. And my kids, though very healthy, were suffering from a couple of things like allergies and acne. And I just knew we weren't quite optimizing our own health. But that shingles bout really was a wake up call for me. I realized that inflammation and chronic issues that we were experiencing in our family have so much to do with the environment that we live in, the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink. And all that experience in the hospital settings certainly brought that home for me. So I decided to retire from full time engineering and focus expressly on helping people create healthy home environments for them and their families to live their best. And truthfully, so much of what I learned on my journey with my family is what prompted me to do so. Here's the headlines, and they get crazier and more convoluted every day. But basically, you can see air pollution is linked to genetic issues. Chromium 6 and other things are found in our water that are definitely contributing to cancers and other issues of health. We've got GMO foods that we're concerned about. Formaldehyde lurks in products and so many other things as well. Basically, we've got a whole plethora of environmental toxins and overload that is affecting our bodies. And I like this quote from Justin Warland. He said it so succinctly that the air that we breathe, the water we drink, and our surroundings where we work and play and sleep may go largely unnoticed on a day to day basis, but visible or not, they constitute our living environment. And we are going to pay attention to that today. Here's a little snapshot right here in New Jersey, and in the world that I live in. You can see my neck of the woods, most of New Jersey, gets a failing grade on air quality. And recently, there's been lots of news in the making about how air pollution is worse than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. We've got falling life expectancy, and that's not even factoring in what we're dealing with this pandemic, which is an unbelievable tragedy in and of itself. We've got reports that up to a quarter of birth defects are linked to environmental issues. And one of the toughest statistics that I can see here is autism. 1 in 34 children have and are diagnosed with autism, and that's the highest in our country. 6 out of 10 people in America have some sort of chronic inflammation. And water pollution, we've got substances that are um, incipiently in our water systems, and they are cancer causing and what we do not want to be drinking every day. So basically, we've got a toxic overload that we have to deal with. And my biggest issue and statement I want to bring to people is with all the things that we're doing to be healthy, we cannot be healthy solely with a healthy lifestyle. We really need to address our environment and those toxic exposures first, or at least in parallel. And some of the things we need to ask ourselves is, does this contribute or reduce my toxic exposure or that of my family? But what we can do and where we can be positive and optimistic about it is we can detox our bodies and we can clean up our homes and we can choose the products and the things that we bring into our home environment. And we all need to take these steps one at a time. We don't need to get overloaded, but we can all take these steps to really create a healthier environment for us and our bodies physically to inhabit. So, how do we react? Here's one cartoon that always gets me. Do we stick our head in the sand? Is there a crisis? What crisis? Do we get over anxious? Do we just run away from it? Do we avoid it? There's so many ways that we can react. And what I want to bring forth today and really emphasize is we do not need to go in the opposite direction of this. We can really look at it straight in the eye and do some things for ourselves. And that's where this philosophy, just do something, really hits home here. We don't have to solve everything in one moment. It's been years and years and generations where our industrial environment and the things within it have come to be. But we can start somewhere and really make big, impactful changes for ourselves and our health. And just a view that I like to share all the different things that are out there in our environment, and some of which we choose to bring into our home, some of which is just by virtue of our outside environment. But we bring things into our home, and we have the opportunity to make that a healthy place, or we can make that a place where we're exposed to things that make us unhealthy. But on the same token, we do, by the way we live in our home, we have a responsibility in terms of the things that leave our house, how we use our energy, what sort of products get into our waste stream, what goes into our water and our sanitary sewage, and how do we choose to recycle and treat the waste that we do produce. So here's the roadmap. I said we could do one thing at a time, and here's the roadmap. I like to see the end goal. It helps me along the way, so I wanted to share that with you as well. So first off, we need to consider eliminating the sources of toxins and pollutants in our home. And I'm going to go through the top 10 things that I feel are the most impact. Secondly, we really need to continue to nourish and fortify our bodies for the strongest resistance. And that really means good nutrition, taking care of ourselves with sleep, water, and supplementation that really strengthens our body. And we need to filter and destroy what's in the air and in the water in our home and on the surfaces in a way that keeps us from exposure of harmful things, but also is intentional and sensitive to the environment at large. We need to detox our bodies regularly. We've got to clean out, just as we would our car or get our oil changed. We need to think about the same for our own bodies. And we need to use less. Here and there, our home energy, single-use products. There's so many ways we can do it, and so many groups of people that are making huge inroads and communities around this subject. So it's something we can do together. And reducing plastics and recycling more. If you've seen some of the documentaries or just looked at all the different states and cities that are making changes for single-use plastic, you can get an understanding of how much plastic we are putting into our environment, and it gets back into our bodies, it gets back into other living organisms. So I'm going to go right into the top 10 things to make a healthier home and how we can detox our home. And some of these are pretty straightforward, but they really are a big help. The first thing that I want to talk about is taking our shoes off at the door and capturing those dust bunnies. I don't know about you, but I am not a big lover of vacuuming. But when I think about how important that is, I make sure I get that vacuum out regularly, at least twice a week, to really take care of any of those incidental um, pollutants that can come in from the dust and the dirt that come in from our shoes and so forth. And then if you're in need of a new vacuum, buy a HEPA filtered vacuum that captures those particulates really well and then keeps them out of your air. And dust, as I'm saying here, really carries those toxins and pollutants and germs into our house. One of the other things that I'd like to suggest, and does make a huge difference, is making a switch on our laundry products. We wear clothes at least all day, maybe to bed, maybe not, but our clothes and our sheets are touching our body 24/7. And that's an opportunity to keep us warm and comfortable. But if we're using products with fragrance or with stain resistant chemicals, we're treating our body to exposure of certain chemicals that actually do cause inflammation and can worsen some of our chronic issues that we face. So fragrance, VOCs, um, dry cleaning is a big one. If you can find a wet laundering cleaner, you can look them up, Google them. There are dry cleaners, if you will, or launders that do not use those harsh VOC chemicals. So make that switch. That's a really excellent place to start within your home. Another thing, and we're kind of moving on the cleaning routine here, is our household cleaning products are some of the biggest reasons why our indoor air is about 5 times more polluted than our outside air. So if you remember that chart I showed you with the state of New Jersey getting an F in air quality, just think if our homes are 5 times more polluted than outside, that's a big problem. And our biggest issue here is our cleaning products. They're filled with bleach. Some have caustic agents, surfactants, which help the detergents stick to water and then get stains removed. Those surfactant chemicals are harmful to our health. And then if you think of pesticides and weed killers and things we use outside our home, or ant sprays inside our home, things like that. Those are also filled with things that are poisonous. And as we breathe them in or touch the surfaces that we've cleaned with those products, again, we're ingesting or absorbing those chemicals, which are causing an extra heap of toxic overload to our bodies that we don't need. There's plenty of really great plant-based cleaning products, and some of the best, like I've shown here with this Get Clean kit, are also highly concentrated. So that keeps so much plastic and pollution out of our landfills, and it keeps um, some of those phosphates and other hard to degrade chemicals out of our waterways. Two very important things as well. We think about another thing that we clean all the time, or hope we do. That's our body and our hygiene. Skincare, soaps, and beauty products. So many of them are filled with chemicals that are created to really make those products work. But what's so good to know is that over the last 5, 10 years, so many companies are moving away from those potentially cancer causing um, ingredients to much cleaner, safer ingredients for our skin. So what we want to avoid is parabens, fragrances, phthalates, which are actually a chemical that makes plastic smoother and more pliable. So some of the tubes and bottles that our products come in have those things in them. And I'm going to give you two recommendations. One, there are apps that you can go and check your own beauty products and see on a scale of 1 to 10 how safe or how potentially harmful they are. And that's a wonderful set of resources for you to get started. And then, second, I'm going to recommend products like this youth skincare line that are free of over 2,500 suspect ingredients that we don't want to have on our skin or in our body. And some products like this youth line actually are clinically shown to take a decade of age off your skin. So, like I said, there are products out there that work and are safe and are better for you. And that's the good news. So, a switch in this department is not the end of the world. It's actually a really great opportunity to try some wonderful products that work even better. Our water, I mentioned this earlier, it's so important to filter our water. We've got a bunch of forever chemicals and volatile organic chemicals. We've got heavy metals like chromium 6, which I mentioned earlier. And these things are in our water systems. Our water systems are also antiquated. They're not designed to get rid of these industrial chemicals that have really flooded our worlds since the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Most of our water systems are much older than that and were never designed to filter these things out. Not to mention BPA and microplastic. Unfortunately, the use of plastic water bottles and plastic containers of all shapes and sizes mean that as that plastic breaks down, it never disappears. It only breaks down into micro bits of plastic. Those bits and pieces are getting through our water system and into our bodies. So it's very, very crucially important to filter your water. In the upper right, I have a description of a water jug, which is a great first step. It is filled and used, made with um, coconut shells and husks. So it's very sustainably derived, but it gets out lead, it gets out all sorts of VOCs and things that we do not want in our water. And if you have the budget or you would like to go to a larger volume system, there's under sink systems and whole house systems as well. And I'm happy to recommend some great products that I believe are very, very high quality and could help you pick the one that's right for you. Into the kitchen we go a little further. Our cookware and our storage is really an opportunity for improvement. Again, plastic can actually get into the foods that we store in them, especially if we microwave them. So that's a big no-no. First and foremost, get rid of your Tupperware and your plastic containers. Switch that out with Pyrex or glass containers like the ones shown here, or go the old fashioned way and use some of those spaghetti jars to store your leftovers for the next day. The other thing is Teflon. Avoid that. It is a chemical that gets into um, our food and then into our body. It's PFOA, and it's one of the perfluoro chemicals that is called the forever chemicals. And there are a bunch of different variations of that. One way that you can avoid them is to choose glass, like Pyrex for the oven, cast iron, and ceramic cookware. And a tidbit that I love to share is that Goodwill has great deals. And I've gotten a bunch of Pyrex pieces over the years to really supplement the ones that I've had and purchased myself. But there are ways to do this economically. And the other thing I love is a good Bed Bath and Beyond 15% off coupon. So make those switches if you have to, one at the time. But first and foremost, no plastic storage. If you start there, that's a great place. Our food now, this is a big one. And I'm pleased to say there are so many more organic and non-GMO options, even in the last couple of years. And prices have come down, but only about 1% of our farmland is organic. And that's amazing here in the United States when you think about that. We do have access to organic food, and I encourage everyone to always choose organic when you can. So if I'm making spaghetti and meatballs for my family, my boys love that. I'm buying organic pasta and organic tomato sauce if I'm not making it myself, and I'm getting grass-fed beef. And maybe that's a few extra cents per box or a dollar more for the ground beef, but still, when I think of the things that we're avoiding in terms of chronic illness down the line, I feel like that dollar over that dinner really takes precedent over the long haul. And the other thing is to cut out preservative and additive laden foods. So some of the deli meats come to mind, anything with artificial colors. Many of these ingredients are carcinogenic and are going to add to our probability or chance of cancer. And if there's one thing I would like for my children is to lower their chance of cancer over their lifetime. So I'm helping them see why choosing different kinds of food products is really good for them for the long haul and for their children. I love to make my own food sometimes. So when you do, enjoy the process and know that you're really having a more whole food option and you're really increasing the health of you and your whole family. Number eight, supplements and remedies and choosing natural options in this regard. We all need a firm foundation of health, and more literature and clinical studies are showing that our American diet is deficient on so many vital vitamins and trace minerals that we're just not getting from our foods. And some that are really important are a spectrum of the B vitamins. They keep us energized and they keep our mental health um, at its best, but they're also so important for so many of our bodily functions to work properly. Vitamin C, which we think of from our oranges, we do not get enough vitamin C to really keep our immune systems running and so many other important and vital functions in our bodies. Lots of the trace minerals, including calcium, magnesium, copper, and some of the other lesser known ones, we're not getting them out of our food and we're not getting them out of our vegetables. Our soil is less nutrient than it was even 50 years ago. So we need to supplement if we're going to have our bodies really work and perform the way they're made to. So I have a recommendation here too. Find natural supplements, but be sure that they are clinically backed and that they are pure and that they can show that they are. If we're going to go and eat organic food, why would we put synthetic or non tested supplements in our body? It's counterintuitive. So that's a very important thing that I want to stress. And be sure you see that proof of purity with the products that you use. Herbal remedies really do have a place, and I encourage you and this group of listeners to really explore that, whether it's drinking teas or using them as supplements. So many things that we can avoid some of those prescriptions or over the counter medications that do have some not so great side effects. So, if we can avoid that and treat our body to some more natural ways to stay healthy, it's nothing but good there, and use antibiotics as directed. We don't want to lean on antibiotics. They take our internal microbiome and they set it off in an unhealthy, unbalanced direction. Sometimes we need antibiotics and they are life saving, but we don't want to rely too much on it. If we have been on a course of antibiotics, it's very important to rebalance your gut microbiome with a good probiotic, and consult with your doctor for what's right with you. Obviously, all of these things are additive and helpful, but do consult with your doctor to make sure you're using products that work in alignment with your own health needs. Our furnishings. We love a beautiful house, a warm, cozy house that's well decorated and cared for. But with that, we need to be very careful. And I learned a lot of this through our hospital design work. When you have new furniture and you have paint, fresh paint, and casework, all of those products come with volatile organic chemicals, maybe in the sealants or in the furnishings or the foam. we do need to be very cognizant of that. Volatile organic chemicals, VOCs, are present and in these products. And so we want to try to choose low VOC products. And there are many available. You can talk to the people that you're buying your furnishings from or go online and look for great options. Certainly from a paint perspective, having just repainted several rooms, there's wonderful options in that regard and things that are very price comparative and high quality. So also say no to chemical coatings. When you see something that's stain resistant, be aware of that because again, those forever chemicals are what is used to stain, protect our fabrics. And we do not want to be sitting on those or breathing in some of those off gases that come up from those products. And the last but not least is clear the air inside your home. We want to be sure that we're not adding a lot of synthetic fragrances to our home, and we want to flush the air out of our home on a regular basis. So, some of those specifics might be avoiding air fresheners, the synthetic air fresheners. They may cover and coat an unpleasant odor in your home temporarily, but we are breathing those in. And if I can get people away from fragrance, I think that's one of the best things that you can take away from this as you're listening to this. And scented candles. If they are not soy based and maybe essential oil added for a fragrance, they're synthetically scented. And again, those VOCs, especially in a candle, are getting warmed up and sent into our home's environment and into our lungs. If you have people with allergies in your family or asthma, I strongly recommend a HEPA air filter. I have two sons with some dust and pollen allergies, and we have brought in two or three different room sized HEPA air filters. It makes the difference in the world. They are um, very fine particulate filtration, plus they have a carbon filter for VOCs, and they really do a wonderful job bringing down the pollutants in the air in our home. I love to suggest to people that you ventilate, open those doors and windows, even if it's just 10 minutes at a time, even on the coldest day or the hottest summer day. Let that air flow through your house and flush some of those things that have built up over time out of the house. And plants, of course, we've talked about, and you may have heard that certain plants, like snake plants shown here, are good at absorbing pollutants and chemicals, and they are, but at such small levels, they're not going to do the job to clean your entire home. But let nature into your home. Not only do they have that benefit as a sidebar, they do help us connect with nature, which on so many levels is good for our health and our soul. Be careful and watch for mold, though. That's a big kicker. A lot of people are allergic to mold, and if mold is left to grow in your home, you can really have some allergic and health issues in that regard. So, I hope I've left you with some tips that you can take on and try in your own home. And I want to suggest a couple of strategies for your best success. Start simple and set some realistic stretch goals, not unrealistic goals. So, what does that look like for you? Think of the two things that really hit you today and make those changes first. You'll be so proud of yourself for doing some things for your own good and for your family's health that kind of get you excited to try the next thing or maybe a little something else that's challenging. And get your family and friends in on the deal. Talk to them about what you've heard here and maybe see if you can work with them or challenge each other to do things. Maybe it's in the kitchen or maybe it's changing your laundry products, but do it together. And I think you'll find that you'll have even better success. I mentioned some apps along the way. Ride the technology wave here. There's so much great information and so many outfits, nonprofit and commercial alike, that are really set to help people make this change. So go in and use those things. If you'd like to know some of the other apps that I use on a regular basis, feel free to reach out. And lastly, use your pocketbook and your voice. First off, we are controlling the environment in our home, and we're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our family. We're doing it for the ones that we love. But as we learn why and how these changes can really be helpful to ourselves, let's continue to use our pocketbook and let other people know, especially the companies that have so much influence on what products are made out of and how they come into our homes. They're looking for profit and they're looking for products that sell. If we can buy and really endorse the products that are safest for ourselves, those companies will listen. And I feel like you're already seeing that in the area of organic food and safe beauty products. The wave is happening, and you have the power in your pocketbook to help contribute to a bigger wave, more broadly felt all over the country and even across the globe. And use your voice. Maybe it's in local government or find a local green club. A lot of towns have an environmental committee, and a lot of people are feeling the same way. Maybe it's in your fitness group, or maybe it's in an alternative health and wellness provider that you use. Maybe it's that community, but use your voice. We all can be a part of good changes that help our future, help our health, and help the generations to come. So, in my mind, it's pretty simple. We start in our home. We all deserve to live in a place that has pure water, clean air, and is a healthy environment. And if we think globally, act locally, and do these things individually, we can all have these things. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you found some value out of some of the tips that I shared today. Again, my name's Claire Broderick, and I'm the founder of Greener Cleaner Living. I'm also an independent Shackley distributor, which is one of the companies that has the most complete green commitment and environmental commitment that I've seen. And I'm happy and proud to be a part of this company. And I'm doing things to expand awareness, like these educational presentations. I do seminars and workshops where we delve deeper into some of these topics. And I'm available to help you, coach you through your own home detox. So, again, I thank you so much for listening to this presentation. And I encourage you to take a step or two along this path. And I encourage you to reach out. I would be pleased to speak with you further and see how we can grow this community far and wide. So thank you again for being here. And I enjoyed having this time with you. And I feel absolutely blessed to have this opportunity to share some of the things that I've learned. And I hope that they have been of value to you today.